the game can see the boxing voice.
Welcome back, gang, for the first time and hopefully many more to come. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notifications right here, this little bell, so you can get those emails every time we go.
.com live here with Tim Smith, head of PBC. What is exactly your official title?
Vice President of Communications for Haymon Boxing. That's a long title.
That's a big
I wish I had
title.
that many zeros behind the number for my yearly income.
Well, speaking of zeros, you guys have signed someone that's going to bring a lot of zeros to PBC and Showtime. Someone that's going to have a lot of pay-per-view attractions. I'm assuming Manny Pacquiao.
Rigondeaux?
Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, Adrian Broner, the possibilities if he wins that with Garcia, I mean, they're just limitless. How'd that come about? And how much did Tim have to do with it?
I had nothing to do with it. This is, Al Haymon's brainchild. But you have to understand, when you have a legendary legacy kind of fighter like Manny Pacquiao, look, the guy wants to go out, he wants his career to go out a certain way. And you have to realize that Manny Pacquiao is a proud champion. He's a proud man, and he doesn't want to be looked at as like a gatekeeper. He doesn't want somebody to be like, okay, I'm setting you up to pass the torch to this guy or whatever. He still wants to compete at a high level, and we have the inventory of guys at his weight class, 147 pounds, that he can compete with those guys at his highest level. I mean, his last fight, he looked like the Manny of old. He showed speed, showed power. So, we can, the PBC can match him up with like a wealth of guys that are going to bring out the best in him. He's going to bring out the best in them at 147 pounds.
Now, is it official he's going to campaign at 47? Because he came in at 143, that is, for Lucas Matisse. And Adrian Broner is a guy that loves to fight at 144. Mikey's not too big. He hasn't officially made a move to 47. And I say those names because Manny Pacquiao posted specific faces on his official Instagram of Broner, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, Earl Spence, and obviously the cherry on top in Floyd Mayweather. So we have to assume that that's his targeted hit list.
Everybody within that range is available to him. As you said, he's a guy who can make 143 easily, he can make 147. So anybody within that range is available to him. Anybody that he wants to fight is available to him. I think people have to realize that he's entered a partnership with with Al, and he's under the PBC umbrella, but it's a partnership with Al, and they'll sit down and they'll decide, what's best for him, what's best for Manny Pacquiao, what's best for the rest of his career, moving forward, and how best he can place himself in the positions to get the fights that he wants to get, as he winds up this Hall of Fame career.
Now, how much of what Eddie is doing, and I mean Eddie Hearn, is ruffling the feathers of PBC?
Who?
I guess it hasn't reached your radar yet.
Who?
Eddie Hearn.
Who?
From the UK.
Who?
Anthony Joshua's promoter.
Look, let me just say this. I think overall, anybody that's doing anything to raise the level of boxing, it's a good thing, because a strong tide raises all ships. But we have our business, he has his business, and we conduct business the way we conduct business. He conducts business the way that he conducts business. So we're just proud of the fact that we have signed multi-year, 4-year agreement with Fox to put boxing back on terrestrial television, back on broadcast networks, back into the homes of over 120 million people, that you don't have to be a graduate of MIT to go out and buy a device and try to figure out how to put it together and how to hook it up to your television. That all you have to do is you can go home 8 p.m.s on Saturday nights, and turn your television on. If your TV's not working, you can go upstairs, get a coat hanger, and you can make the old rabbit ears with a coat hanger, and you can still see a fight. And that's important in order to bring more eyeballs, in order to bring a newer audience to boxing. That's our philosophy. But I'm not knocking anybody's philosophy about what they do or how they conduct their business. We look at this as a way to provide good fights for the fans, as a way to provide, good economic income and financial well-being for our fighters. So that's what we're all about. We produce a TV show that The Fox network has decided that they wanted to buy the rights to, and Showtime has decided to continue their relationship with us. And that's basically what we do. We just try to provide the best fights for the most amount of people that we possibly can.
But you got this guy actively trying to, I like to use the word poach, Haymon fighters, offering them millions, saying on social media how they're not getting any fights. Is anything going to change now that we have these two deals? Are we going to see these guys fight 3 times a year, more than the average 1 time to 2 times a year?
Well, let me just say this, and I'm going to let you do the math. I'm going to let you figure the math out for yourself. We have 3 fights a month: January, February, March, April. Each one of those fights is probably going to be a triple header. So you're talking about, I don't know, you do the math.
12 shows? 3 fights a month? 3 times 4, yeah, 12.
So do the math.
12 shows, 12 triple headers.
12 triple headers.
12 times 3 now.
36, right?
36 fighters.
Okay, so we have 36 fights.
Plus undercards.
Plus undercards in the first 4 months of the year. Then you got to populate those cards with, 2 guys against each other. So each show you got 2, 2, 2. That's what, 6 guys. So you're going to have 6 guys that are going to be fighting in main event quality fights, just like this fight that we have on December 22nd. So 6 times 3 is what? 18? 18 fighters a month. They're going to be busy. 4 times 18, I'm not that good. It's, I don't know how many fighters that is.
Round it up to 20 times 4. We're talking almost 80 fighters in 4 months.
Okay.
And you have 160 or so total.
So you tell me if we got the inventory to do that, and within that inventory, you tell me how many times, if guys want to be active, how many times they're going to be able to be active. Plus, on top of those guaranteed shows, we're going to do pay-per-views. So there are going to be shows outside of those shows, at least 4 to 6, pay-per-view shows a year. So, you tell me whether you think guys who want to be active aren't going to be able to be active with the number of shows that we have going.
Now, usually you can't ask a fighter what's next because he's focused on what's in front of him, but you being vice president, I want to ask what's next for Deontay Wilder. If he's now doing pay-per-view, is the next one, should it be pay-per-view, hoping that the numbers do well?
This is what I don't understand with people when people talk about pay-per-view. And pay-per-view, when I was growing up, pay-per-view was always something special. It was always a special fight. There had to be a reason for the fight being on pay-per-view. And I think you have to look at each case of pay-per-view as, is this something that's special? And what's happened is the demands of the fighters in terms of, what they're asking for in terms of their purse is the driving factor behind that. I think a boxer like Deontay Wilder, who is building, his audience, he's a guy that's built for the network, and he can go back and forth between the network and pay-per-view, depending on the opponent, depending on the fight. So, there's a world of heavyweights that are available to him. Dominic Breazeale is fighting on this card. Rematch with Luis Ortiz. There are, just any number of guys that he can still fight that are going to make good fights for him. And, you just have to remember what Deontay does, his specialty. He's 40-0 with 39 KOs. So, any fight that he's in, I harken back to the days of Mike Tyson. Every time Mike Tyson stepped in the ring, what did you think Mike Tyson was going to do? You thought Mike Tyson You thought Mike Tyson was going to go 12 rounds with somebody?
Absolutely not.
You always thought he's going to crack somebody, right? That's what Deontay Wilder is. He steps into the ring, you're expecting somebody to go to sleep. That pillow that Jerry Cooney had up there, you might as well hand that to his opponent, to Deontay's opponent, because guess what? That's what you're going to. 39 times this happened. And the one guy that slipped off the hook, he came back and he put him to sleep.
Knocked down.
Right.
Fight fans are going to kill me if I don't ask, but I'm sure you've read or someone's forwarded you messages from Bob Arum saying either Al Haymon doesn't exist or Al Haymon is a cancer. Al Haymon is the reason that we haven't gotten Terrence Crawford, Earl Spence. They say they want that fight now. what's really going on, and are we ever going to see that fight with Crawford and Earl?
You know, earlier in this interview, you asked me about Manny Pacquiao and the wealth of guys that are available to Manny Pacquiao. The same guys that are available for Manny Pacquiao are available for Errol Spence. That's my answer to that.
So he's busy.
He's got a full plate.
So, I mean, technically, then Arum isn't wrong when he's saying that this side doesn't want the fight.
We want any fight that makes sense for Errol Spence at this time.
Have they contacted you? Because he says they won't contact us.
I have no idea.
Okay,
I have no idea whether anybody has contacted Bob Arum or Bob Arum has reached out to us. I have no knowledge or any idea of any of that. And look, it really doesn't matter because we're concentrating on our business. And, you know, our business is making fights for PBC fighters, you know, with this deal says, you know, PBC on Fox. So that's what we have. We have Premier Boxing Champions on Fox. That's what we concentrate on.
So what can we expect to see from Fox in terms of promotion to get these fighters out there more and give them more recognition? Now that we're bringing boxing back to mainstream television, free TV, as you guys say, what are we going to have in terms of side programming? I don't know, all access, 24/7 type of production.
That's a very simple question. We have 2 studio shows a month. One is going to be on Big Fox. One is going to be on FS1. And it's going
to. Are you at liberty to give the name
of the show? I don't know if they branded the show yet. It's PBC on Fox Studio Show for now. That's the working title, but it'll have some fancy name. It's almost like an inside the NFL kind of show.
Anchors?
That's up to Fox to determine, you know, who the hosts are going to be. But it is going to be a show that showcases, you know, Premier Boxing Champion boxers. They're going to be telling feature stories. They're going to be doing all access kinds of stories about fights that are coming up. You know, we're going to have you know, somebody doing news, Boxing Insider talking about breaking stories. So it's going to be you know, think about what you see on Sunday before an NFL game on any of the 3 networks where they bring people into the studio, where everybody has a studio show. Think of it along the lines of something like that, and you know, that'll give you an idea of the look and the feel of what we're going to do with those studio shows. Plus, before every fight, there's going to be a pre-fight show leading into the show, and then there's going to be a post-fight show. After the show is over, that's going to include the same thing, the studio desk with, you know, interviews with the fighters and everything coming, you know, after the fights, and you know any other fighters that are in the crowd or whatever. So we have that. We're going to do all access types of programming around every show, you know, particularly with the pay-per-view shows. We're going to do, like, you know, all access kind of programming around any of the pay-per-view shows that are done. So it's going to be treating boxing the same way that you see the NBA being treated with a studio show, or Major League Baseball being treated with a studio show, or the NFL being treated with a studio show. So the goal is to treat boxing the same way that you treat any other sport. Make it a sport so that people that aren't hardcore boxing fans can come to appreciate the stories of the guys that we have fighting on these shows, and appreciate, you know, the shows that are coming up. So it's an opportunity to bring more people into the tent, not close people off by putting it behind something, but bringing more people into the sport and broadening the attraction of the sport, and at the same time broadening the appeal of the guys that are involved in the sport.
How important is it to land that Anthony Joshua fight for Deontay Wilder? Because are we in the same situation as Earl now, where he has enough fighters to keep him busy for the next few years, and we'll worry about outsiders when we're done?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing with all of that, and this is the thing this is why I admire Al. Because he doesn't get into back and forth about what it takes to get this done, what it takes to get that done. You know, he just goes out when the time is right, he does it. You know, Mayweather and Pacquiao, everybody talked about that, talked it to death, that negotiations are going back and forth in the media. And all Al did was sit down and get the deal done. He's a deal maker. He gets deals done because he doesn't sit around and talk about it or downgrade somebody or talk about, you know, this person's a myth or can't find him or whatever. He doesn't do any of that. He just gets deals done. You know, so, you know, when the time is right to get it done, he'll get it done.
So for those that say he doesn't exist,
I talk to him, you know, several times a day. So
you speak to him more than most fighters, right?
In my world, he does.
You speak to him more than most fighters, right?
I have no idea what most fighters are doing.
Every time I talk to them, some of them haven't even met him yet.
Well, I'm sure that when they get the check, they appreciate the fact that he's doing whatever he's doing for them.
Now, you've been on the opposite side of the street, and I hope you don't get offended by me letting the world know that you've been a writer before. You've covered the sport, and I want your perspective because Aram calls him a cancer. So you've been on this side of the camera, fighting the good fight, getting the stories, trying to make those good fights happen. Now you're with someone that's actually making the best fights. How do you take the cancer comments or any negative comments about Al Haymon?
I don't take them anyway because, you have to sort of consider the source of where it's coming from and consider the motivation behind, why it's being said. So it doesn't, even as a reporter, I don't think it would have had any effect on me or anything. But I would have, if I'm a reporter or if I'm a journalist, I would look at the source behind, why it's happening, why somebody is saying this, and who needs what more important than the other person needs something.
Well, their main gripe is that there's no face, there's no spokesperson, no one to stand up for
You're standing here talking to me.
I know. Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you. See, that's why I said I didn't know you did interviews till I heard that podcast.
I mean, you're standing here talking to me. But here's the thing. You're ascribing you're projecting someone's negative energy towards somebody that's trying to do something positive. So, we're sort of a positive company. Everything that we do is fighter first, fan first. So if it doesn't make sense for the fighter or for the fan, then we're not interested in doing it. So everything, whatever it is, it has to make sense, and dollars for our fighters, and it has to make sense for our fans. So that's where we are, and all the negativity, all the stuff that people say doesn't bother us because we're hard at work. If we sat back and internalized all the negative stuff that was said about us or what we do, we'd never get anything done. So our whole thing is just look at the results of what we got done. For years, people have been trying to get boxing back on network television and getting rights fees for boxing on network television. Who's done it?
Al Haymon.
Okay, thank you. So, so look at the results. Look at the fact, and when we first started, people were like, oh, PBC is overpaying their fighters. Now look at the rise in the level of the income that the fighters are getting. Not necessarily from us, but from other entities. Guys are getting paid.
Jesse Vargas got 1.7 versus the law man.
Everybody that's involved in this sport, if you're a fighter, you got to thank somebody for coming along and shooting a jolt of electricity through it so you can get more money. And again, it's all about the health, wealth, and welfare of fighters and looking out for the best interests of those fighters. And I would say since PBC started in 2015, the lot in life of most boxers has improved tremendously.
Absolutely.
So,
quality of life for most boxers.
Quality of life for most boxers has improved tremendously. You think that, Tony Harrison and Willie Monroe ever would have dreamed that they would be in an opening bout on a Fox network show? In 2015, if you come up to them and you told them, hey, you're going to be fighting on Fox in prime time, big Fox, 4 years from now or 3 years from now, you think they would have believed you? No. You think any other boxer out there, if you go out to them and say, 3 years ago, would you have thought you'd be fighting on network television? They probably go, no, I would have thought it was a pipe dream. Again, Al is working to get things done. He doesn't have time to deal with the negativity. He doesn't have time to just do a million interviews or anything like that. He's working to do things. And when you're out there working to try to make positive changes in the sport, you don't have time for the negativity. There's no reason to have time for the negativity because you're working for positive things. You're working to move the sport forward.
Speaking of positive, obviously for years we wanted to know what would happen if Pacquiao signed to Al Haymon and he got to mix it up. Guillermo Rigondeaux signed to Al Haymon and he got to mix it up. And Al continues to make these signings. How is he making it possible, and why do some guys take longer? Why did it take so long for a Rigondeaux, who seems a bit easier than Pacquiao to bring into the...
I have no idea. I can't speak for him. The only thing I can speak for is you know, guys, boxers talk, you know, and I don't know why people don't think that these guys don't speak to each other. It's like a fraternity. They talk. They know how they're being treated by the different people in the management for the companies that they're working. They know what they're getting paid. They know whether people are, you know, treating them fairly. So, you know, all the boxers on our side, you have access to them. You go up and ask them. I mean, I'm sure you've asked them off the record, is it, you know, how's Al treating you? Is he treating you okay? You know, and I'm sure you get, you know, a lot of different answers and everything, but for the most part, they realize that they have an opportunity to make loot, to, you know, to better their lives in one way or another.
My last question, obviously, look, I'm not going to say that I'm not a fan of the Zone streaming app or an ESPN streaming app. The convenience of driving 15 hours to Alabama and being able to watch the fight in my car is convenient. Are we going to see Showtime or Fox have their equivalent?
Showtime has been streaming. This is what I don't understand. Showtime has been streaming fights for years.
Live though?
Yes.
Because you know,
ESPN
ESPN and DAZN are even giving you undercards. Like the people you're not, like the areola that we won't see on December 1st, you'll see that on ESPN and DAZN.
Yeah, you'll see the same. You'll see streaming. Fox is going to stream fights. They have the
more
capability.
promotion on it, Tim. We didn't know.
They have the ability to do that. They have the ability to stream fights. They do stream. You know, now that we're in this deal, they'll be streaming fights.
Perfect.
Maybe we should do a press release that they're streaming fights. But
like today, look, we got the press release for this yesterday, and all the way at the bottom it says fans have an opportunity to win tickets. So we weren't able to let our listeners or viewers know, and that was a good opportunity for them to show up and win some tickets for this fight.
Yeah.
Just need a little more promotion, but I want to thank you for your time.
Sure.
Obviously, I know you don't normally do this, so thank you so much.
Family, yes, YouTube has been cutting funding to their channels as of late, and with net neutrality going through its process, the internet is changing. If you want to keep your favorite channel intact, coming up with tons of content, and plus get hours and hours of extra content, head over to patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice to become a member of the TBV family and help support the channel. Peace.